This moment is the time that child was given the eulogy. Many times you hear that word eulogy and you may not know what that word quite means. It is derived from two Greek words, which simply means a good word. You meaning good, and logos meaning word. The eulogy is not simply a good word, but the etymology of the word good is God. So the eulogy is a God word. Therefore, if you're going to give a God word, you must seek the Lord to find out what word he wants given. Particularly over the life of someone who has had a profound effect on many individuals. In the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13, you've probably heard of this scripture dozens of times, but it says, three things, I'm reading from the New Living Translation, three things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. As many of you know who have heard me speak, times like these funerals, I always like to look at the name of an individual to find out what their name means, because I really believe that particularly in the Eastern cultures, and particularly in Jewish cultures, as you look through the scriptures, names had two definitions. Either they were prophetic, which meant that this is what the intent of God was for the person's life. So Abraham's name, which means exalted father, was changed to Abraham, which means father of a multitude. Or you would have the name of an individual given because it represented something that their parent had gone through. So when Joseph was sold into slavery, then he became prime minister. He gave his two sons the name Ephraim, which means God has made me doubly fruitful in the land of my affliction. And then he named his other son Manasseh, which meant God has caused me to forget all the pain I've gone through to get to this point. So when I look at the name Renee, as Chris so eloquently said, her name means born again. But she wasn't simply called Renee, but she was called, at one point in her life, she was called Renee Stokes. Stokes is derived from a place in England, and it means to poke, to stir up, and to feed the fire, or feed the passion. And Renee was a passionate individual. Anybody who tells you what's on their mind, anybody who orders doctors around is truly a passionate person. Now, the challenge about being passionate is that you can stir up and poke and feed a passion that's good, or you can feed a passion that's bad. And quite sure that Renee has had both, but I've seen her, at least the stage in her life that I got to meet her was that she stirred passions for good, or that is for God. But judging from the obituary, I discovered that she spent far more of her life as Renee Hope than Renee Stokes. It is interesting how God kind of brings people together. And if you didn't think that there was a God, when you see how God brings things together, you have to believe God is the master maestro behind things that occur in this life. Remember Chris, when he first came to our church, He was a student at Tufts University. And we were talking, and he said, oh, by the way, I'm from Atlanta, but my family, my dad is from in this area, and he's from Somerville. I said, your dad's from Somerville? I was raised in Somerville. He said, yeah. His name was James Hope. I said, Jimmy? He said, yeah. I said, I was raised right next door to your dad. And your Aunt Linda, and of course, my favorite of your aunts, Donna, because Donna used to send me to the store to get things for her. And now you gotta know this is like 1970, so I was about 11 years old. You don't have to do the math, I'm 51 now. But she would give me $1. Now you need to understand that back in those days you could buy penny candy. Now, you young people don't know anything about penny candy, so I was talking to Mills and Westwood. But penny candy was, you paid, now you just throw away pennies, but penny candy, you could take 1 penny and buy 5 pieces of candy. And I get a witness in the congregation. So you're talking about $1 could buy 500 pieces of candy. And when you stepped out of the store, you had to yell out immediately, no dibs. Now, if you don't know what dibs, I need to talk to somebody. I need to explain what no dibs mean. You need to cry out that, or else you'll be having the ministry of giving if you did not cry out no dibs. So it's amazing how God will bring people together. Her name was Renee Hope. Renee Hope. Hope, born again. Renewed hope. So every time someone saw her say, Renee Hope, they would say, renewed hope. The word hope is mentioned in the Bible, at least the King James Version, 133 times. And although sometimes we mix up the word faith and hope, sometimes you can look at those words and think that they mean the same thing. But hope is quite different from faith. I found this saying about the difference between faith and hope, and I liked it. It said, faith is in the present accepting, but hope is in the future expecting. Faith deals with the present, and that's why the writer of Hebrews, when he wrote a definition of faith, he said, now faith is the substance of things hoped for. But hope deals with the future. So Paul writing to the church at Thessalonica in chapter 4, verse 13 and 14, which really speaks volumes to our hearts as we are speaking in memory of Renee and also to the family. Paul says this, and now, dear brothers and sisters, we want you to know what will happen to believers who have died so that you would not grieve like other people. Now, it doesn't say you won't grieve, but he says you won't grieve like other people who have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and was raised again to life, we also believe that when Jesus returns, that is the future, God will bring back with him the believers who have died. So when Jesus comes, if Jesus were to come tomorrow, guess who would be riding into earth with him? And that is Renee Hope. Well, let me give you a few examples that will help you to define the difference between faith and hope. Because I really want to talk to you about Renee's